Greetings, everyone. Richard Solomon with a post-concert review with my very good friend, rock and roll Richard Taylor. Hey, Rich, thanks.
Good evening.
Hey, so we're in the Ford studio. We're in the Ford studio because the Honda studio was busy. And we just saw Ann Wilson at the Space in Westbury. What a show. What'd you think?
I loved it. I felt that in the beginning she got off to a little bit of a shaky start, maybe like the first 4 songs, but after she introduced a new song called
Anguish.
Anguish, she owned the stage.
All right. So for those who want to know what the set list was, and by the way, she restored my faith in rock and roll. I mean, she just did all these great tunes. She put her own mark on them, and she played people like Hendrix, Yes, The Who, the Black Crowes. I mean, it was Aretha Franklin,
The Animals,
and Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, and she owned every song. I mean, there's so many artists that have tried to reconstitute old songs and don't do any justice. She put her stamp on every single song.
And she sings with such volume, strength, articulation. I mean, she really is just a powerhouse.
Yeah, no, it was, and you and I were talking about it. I think she's really the only female rock and roll voice that's still around.
That's right. So for those who want to know what the set list was, it was Can You See the Real Me was the opener, so it was a cover of The Who. Barracuda, which is a heart song, of course. Crazy on You. What About Love? Fool No More, which I think was sort of a new one. One Night with You. Anguish. Let's see, we have all kinds of notes here. Manic Depression, which was an incredible version.
Yeah. She did Hendrix justice. And One Night with You, Elvis. She covered Elvis.
Oh, yeah. Then there was a break, and she did 5 Million Miles, or 5 Million Miles from Home. She did one of the Yes songs, the one about do, 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 do. I don't know what the song is. The guy actually next to me asked me, and I didn't know either. Talks to Angels, which I think was the Black Crowes.
Black Crowes, right.
Don't Give Up, which was the Peter Gabriel song.
Yeah. She did, but she sang both parts. She sang Peter Gabriel's part
and the female
and I forgot who the female
person,
vocalist that was.
And of course, we got to get out of this place. The Animals,
yeah. She made Eric Burton proud.
And then they did a killer version of We Don't Get Fooled Again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she did a total of 3 Who songs.
Yeah. And then she did Alone, which of course is a heart song, but she rearranged it. So it was a little bit, it was different.
I think she only did about four heart songs.
Yeah, there really wasn't a lot of heart songs per se, but you saw the influence of Heart. You definitely saw the influence of Zeppelin.
Yeah, she played it. That's right. She didn't do all heart songs, but she did do a couple of her new songs with the new band that she's got.
Okay, there was Love, Rain or Me. And what else was there? There was an Aretha Franklin song.
Won't Get Fooled Again. Oh, yeah. Ain't No Way.
Ain't No Way. Now, it was a 4-piece band. It was definitely bluesy.
Yeah.
And she had very different arrangements of the songs that you knew. But they were just so well done. I mean, they were so well done.
I felt after Anguish, the band came together. She found her footing. She just owned the stage.
And in all fairness, she said that she had a cold.
Yeah.
And she really put her heart and soul into the whole performance. And what was very interesting about the audience was that you could kind of at some points hear a pin drop. Because the audience was so riveted and so respectful that they really wanted to hear everything that she had to sing.
No, absolutely. She total respect. You could tell she had the audience with her.
Oh, absolutely.
She got a number of standing ovations,
and all deserved.
Yeah. And all deserved, totally deserved. No, just great to have her back on stage. I think she's a great talent and. Being 66 and still has a voice.
All right, so we had to move the Honda studio. See, we double parked the Honda studio, and I figured, who's up at this hour?
This review is hot off the presses. We just got out of the theater.
So yeah, we wanted to capture it while it was still fresh.
You're getting it fresh.
Exactly. We had fresh served music, all handmade and all perfect, and we wanted to give you a hot off the press show. And of course, what I do, I double parked in the driveway and I had to scramble because I didn't want to be impolite and block a poor guy out of his own house from coming home.
He does live there.
Exactly. So was the show what you expected?
I'll be honest with you, because when I went to the website for the space, she had one of the videos was she did "Sympathy for the Devil," and I listened to it, and I'll tell you the truth, it was what I was saying before, that some artists they re-record old songs and it doesn't feel right. At first take, that didn't feel right, so my expectations were lowered a little bit, but she hit it out of the park.
Yeah, it's right. I was expecting a lot of what I've kind of seen before, which is when they did the Kennedy Center honors. I think they did "Stairway to Heaven" when Led Zeppelin was honored, and Heart did "Stairway to Heaven," and they did a phenomenal, version of that. I think it actually brought like tears to both Jimmy Page's eyes and Robert Plant, because they really did it so well. So I was expecting more of that, but this was really a departure from that. It wasn't really like any of the Heart songs. It wasn't like their traditional covers, which you get a lot of Led Zeppelin. I know that they've toured with in fact, one of the Jason Bonham, I think one of our prior shows, you and I, is when we did our post-concert review of Heart with Jason Bonham. And what was great about that is Heart did their set, and then they did a Zeppelin set with Jason Bonham, and it was just spectacular. And Ann Wilson really can cover Robert Plant. I mean, she really can.
She proved she could cover just about anybody.
Yeah, because
she went the full. Think about it. She went the full range. She went Elvis, Aretha Franklin, the Who, and naturally the Heart songs. Jimi Hendrix. I mean, she's got it. She just has it. And I applaud her. 66, and she's still not a crack in her voice. She can still hit those high notes.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting, I was thinking about how would I talk about the show on the radio here, and I almost wanted to say that we saw Professor Ann Wilson give us a lecture about rock and roll history, how to cover a song, how to really sing,
how to own a song.
Yeah. The one great, like Hendrix is really hard to cover when you think about it, because there was nobody like him.
Hendrix covered Dylan
all along the Watchtower,
but nobody's covered Hendrix. Yeah, you're right. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's true.
He did
Voodoo Child.
Right.
But again, it took a Stevie Ray Vaughan to cover a Hendrix.
Right.
And actually, another great Stevie Ray Vaughan song is "Superstition." If you ever see, there's a really funny video where he plays the song straight through, and there's the horseshoe and the cat and all the things, the mirror breaking, and at the very end of the song, Stevie Wonder goes, "Oh, here, kitty, kitty." he grabs the kitty cat, and it's kind of cool because it was just a great acknowledgement between two really cool artists. But what's interesting is the guy who actually did a great job on covering Hendrix was Paul Rodgers. There was an album, and this goes way back. It was called the Hendrix Set, and one of the songs that they cover was "Manic Depression," and he did it. I'll play it for you one day at the station. It's just a really awesome version. What do you think about the length of the show?
I think she really gave everybody their money's worth. She had one short intermission, and then a nice long set after that, and then 2 encores. I mean, you couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, she really mixed it up. I mean, there was like blues, there was rock, there were oldies, there were classic songs, but it was all new. I mean, it felt new. It felt fresh.
Like we were talking about before, some of the old songs, like the Who songs, have gotten stale for me, and she breathed new life into them, I thought.
Yeah.
And I was never a big Yes fan, and I really enjoyed her interpretation of that Yes song,
which we don't know the name of, but it goes do 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 do.
'Cause it's time, it's your time.
That capture for the queen to
that's going to be the contest. Right? Name that Yes song.
I'm sure we'll get 7,000 emails. It's like, oh, come on, guys, you don't know it's X.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as concerts and music, what do you see that's still good out there?
I haven't been to many. In rock and roll, I
There's not many people really touring anymore. I know that. I know this is down the road a bit. I know that in July in 2017, I saw an announcement that Fleetwood Mac, Steely Dan, the Eagles, going to have a 2-day thing at Citi Field.
Right, but it was the other thing that I was talking to you about. I mean, there are some shows, some of the old timers like Clapton is touring, but I mean, they've gotten totally outrageous with the prices. I mean, when one ticket is $500 for Loge, let alone close to $2,000 for an orchestra seat. I mean, who's got that kind of money?
On the other hand,
for a 2-hour show, I would be willing to spend $150, $200 because that's, to me, that it's equivalent to like a Broadway show. But $500, $1,500, $2,000, it's crazy. Those are crazy numbers.
The only thing is, though, there's only so much touring left in some of these people, to see them live. Because, Eric Clapton is basically threatened to stop touring. A lot of them have said, either winding down. I think, didn't Black Sabbath just end touring because they had a final tour?
But they also, who was supposed to retire when Shea Stadium was still around? Yeah. That was supposed to be their final concert. And it's still not their final concert. These guys, they have mortgages, so they got to get back out.
On more than one house,
and more than
one country,
and more than one wife.
So hey, look, Mick Jagger's a great grandfather, so I guess he's got a lot of birthday presents.
And he just had a baby.
That's right. Yeah, I think it was his eighth. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
long live rock.
That's why he's got a tour. He's got bills to pay.
What do you think of the band? I thought
they came together about the fourth or fifth song.
It was interesting for 4 people. They really had a great burden. They had to play guitar like Jimi Hendrix. They had a drum like Keith Moon.
And the drummer, I thought he filled the part. I thought he filled it.
I mean, on "We Don't Get Fooled Again," that's some pretty serious Keith Moon drumming in there that you have to really reach into.
Yeah, that's not something you can fake.
I thought was nice was when Ann Wilson really talked a lot about personal things. She talked about how she let love in, and that was the song about Anguish, which was the separation. She talked about her mother and father growing up. So I thought we got to see a real deeper version of Ann Wilson than you may in concert. Wow, see, we had to move the Honda studio again. How do you like that?
Incoming.
So, any final thoughts on either the show or what she played or her music or Heart?
I want to know what happened to her sister.
I guess they're doing something else. I don't know. We'll have to. I guess that's a question for Google. I'll tell you one song that they play together as in Heart. Is they play the Battle of Evermore. And I love that song. They take out the mandolin. They do the harmony. They do it like it was Sandy Denny and Robert Plant did the original song.
Right.
But they cover. In fact, I think Sandy Denny was the only person that got her own symbol for Led Zeppelin. She was like the 5th symbol.
Right, I think she was the only other person that ever sang with Led Zeppelin.
Exactly, yeah. I think she was for Fairport Convention or something like that, yeah. And they do. In fact, there's an album called Heart Live in Seattle, and I know that they play an Elton John song called what is it? Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, and then they play right after that. They play the Battle of Evermore, and by the way, it's a great CD. It's just a great CD to listen to, but they do a great version of that. And if you ever want to go onto YouTube, it's a great song to listen to. It's even a better song to watch.
Yeah.
I do love when Heart comes to town. Maybe they'll be wow, look at all this action where the Honda studio was parked. Unbelievable. There's like more people there than the rest of the
A lot
town.
of people in that house.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming home around now.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, it was a great show. Thank you for suggesting the idea from the bottom of my heart. I'm glad we did it, and we got to do more of these.
Yeah, no, had a great time.
By the way, just so you know, at the space coming up will be, I saw a little handout there. Steve Winwood's coming, Dark Star Orchestra. By the way, we have an interview up online of Jeff Mattson from Dark Star Orchestra, which is on the YouTube channel. Who else is coming down the road? It was Steve Winwood, the Fab Four. Yeah, the Fab Four is coming.
And also to mention that the space, it's a great venue.
It really is.
It's a really nice venue. It's a theater that was a movie theater that was restored and turned into an entertainment venue.
And and there's some nice places to eat in the area too.
Yeah, no, it's a very village vibe around here, and we had some good Mediterranean food tonight, and Turkish tea.
Exactly. So we'll be awake. That's why we're so wide awake for the interview. and it was kind of cool is that we were actually very lucky to have the space. You got not too far down the road is what was called the Westbury Music Fair. I forgot what the current name is. I don't know. It was called the North Fork Theater, and then it was called the New York
NYCB
Theater. But that's a great venue as well. You have the obviously Jones Beach is a great venue as well.
That's right. Yeah, and you got the Paramount in Huntington.
So there's a lot of opportunities to see some great people in Long Island, and I understand there's other venues that are maybe, rising in the future. I know that they're talking about bringing the Nassau Coliseum back.
No, that's for sure. There's some dates already that are set. Stevie Nicks is going to be out at the Coliseum. Are they calling it the Coliseum anymore?
I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know they just really put a facade on the outside. I thought they were going to take the whole arena down.
Duct tape and paint. Yeah, just take out the tester's glue,
Yeah. They just rearranged the seats.
That's basically, I guess they get rid of the gum off the floor. But we're actually very, very lucky. There are great concert venues, and you know what? Broadway is great, but it's far and it's expensive, and a lot of times you want to this show started at 8 o'clock. It was over,
And that was another thing. She was punctual.
Yeah, I was amazed. It was 8:04 and
punctual. Holy mac! I've never seen a rock and roll. I've seen them start close on time, but never exactly on time.
Yeah, I remember once. I think it was the Grateful Dead. I think the ticket said 7:30. I think they showed up at 11. And I know that in some venues, because of overtime rules, they cut the show. I think it's at Jones Beach. Like they got to be off at 11.
Union rules.
Yeah, they got to. Yeah. By 11 o'clock, they pull they pull the lights and they throw everybody out.
Yeah.
All right. So from Richard Solomon, Richard Taylor, your rock and roll people. By the way, in the day, Richard Taylor owned a record store. So so he is a real music aficionado.
And it's coming back. It is back. Vinyl is back.
Vinyl is back. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. Yeah. So for those out there, play your Technics players with your what were the speakers of the day? It was always like you.
Well, Pioneer was.
It was who had like there was you had like the
Polk. You had Polk speakers.
Then there was like a graphic equalizer from somebody. Oh. Marantz, I think.
Probably, yes. Yeah, Marantz, definitely.
Yeah, there was like certain stereo equipment you had to have.
Was there a No. Was there a Macintosh stereo?
No, I don't think so. No.
Am I short circuited?
No, you're thinking of the TRS-80. Next to the Commodore 64. So one of the things I'm going to do for our listeners is to present Ann Wilson in her own words. So this is part of the concert where she talked about a song that she wrote called Anguish, and this is her introduction to that song. I will not be playing any of the songs due to copyright restrictions and to protect the digital rights of the performer and the producers.
Yeah? Maybe I'm trying to channel it, maybe. Okay, well, here's another one that has been written in the last year by Craig Bartok and myself, and it's got a little story attached, but I'll keep it brief. A couple of years ago, after living a long, very quiet life, very safe, very, invulnerable life, I opened the door one day and in walked love, in a big, big way. And it was one of those explosive, magnetic, righteous loves that you know is the one. And I jumped, and I just went, okay, this is it, I'm going, taking off the armor, I'm just going to expose myself to the radiation of love. And then the band I was in had to go to New Zealand on a little mini tour for 2 weeks. And I couldn't go with this person, so I had to go alone. Separation anxiety. And I walked the floor and pounded the sheets and counted the days and the minutes and wrote the words to this song. This is called Anguish.
So during the break, there was a nice long break. Ann came out, and the song that she played was Don't Give Up, the Peter Gabriel song, and she covered it beautifully. This is her introduction to that song.
Nice little break. What did you do? Did you drink? Good. Now we are blessed and lit up, and we want to travel around the country. We've been traveling around like this cool little tight tribe here. And thank you. And we've been in all parts of the country. Red states, blue states, purple, every kind of state. Some states that were just kind of quiet, And the thing they all have in common is that people everywhere exist in their own bubble. And if they're reactive and things happen, then they wake up later and go, hey, what happened? And lots of people in this country are feeling kind of overwhelmed on every side. Everything's in motion, everything's in turmoil. Then some people feel overwhelmed, and so this next song speaks to them. It talks to people who they shouldn't forget that they've got friends, they've got family, they've got a best friend, or at least someone who's got their back. This is called Don't Give Up.
In this last segment, Ann talks a lot about her parents and growing up. And she even mentions that she has two sisters. I didn't know that there was a third Wilson sister, but she's mentioned here. And it's deep and poignant what she talks about. Her father was in the Marine Corps, and she talked about challenges that people face being part of a military family. Here's Ann in her own words.
Not that grown up, but kind of grown up. At least we're pretending to be grown up. My mama was a grown up. She married a military man. And she loved him. They had a really serious love thing going. She married him, and at the same time, she married the Marine Corps, So there were three of them in the relationship. And this was not what my mom really bargained for. I mean, she didn't think about it that way when she married the man. And it kind of blew her mind how all of a sudden there was protocol for military wives and children, passed down by the military. And it got into her zone, I mean, first of all, he was gone all the time. She was raising the kids, my two sisters and myself, by herself. And he would waltz in from the Marine Corps and be the glory dad, and then he'd go away and it'd be all on her again. She blamed the Corps. They do wonderful things, but not that. And she would be at the end of the day, ironing and changing the babies and all that stuff. And wearing the same old shabby dress. And she would play this song, and she would really mean it when she sang along. And even as a little kid, I can remember going, wow, she's down with that. So this is that song. This is called The Danger Zone. For all those of you wondering how to capture love, you don't need to capture it, you just need to